Tulsi Gabbard just did the unthinkable. Our amazing Director of National Intelligence just made a shocking move for transparency regarding President Obama and the now infamous Russia hoax scandal. All right. She literally shows overwhelming evidence of how this all went down. And now some very powerful people are calling this the dismantling of the deep state. So this is huge. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. Let's check this out. So I love what Charlie Kirk wrote here because I feel like he gave kind of a quick rundown of what happened. Charlie Kirk says, breaking, DNI Tulsi Gabbard just declassified documents that show overwhelming evidence that President Barack Obama personally requested and intentionally manufactured and politicized intelligence to create the narrative that Russia was attempting to influence the 2016 presidential election in President Trump's favor, despite intel assessments concluding that Russia was not trying to influence the election. It was all a giant hoax, wasn't real. Well done, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, for leading the charge on transparency and accountability. Let's investigate and prosecute. Let me know in the comment section if this is what you want to see. All right, should they investigate? Should they prosecute? Or does President Obama have immunity? All right, you let me know. Also, speaking on transparency and accountability, look at this move that just happened yesterday. AG Pam Bondi says, President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. All right, and this happened after President Trump went on Truth Social, and he's pretty much responding to all the feedback that he's been getting about the Epstein case. But check this out. President Trump yesterday says, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. All right. And an update on this, literally just minutes ago, AG Pam Bondi says, our motion has been filed. So this is in the works now. So I think everyone could be expecting this subject to court approval. But good day for transparency. But back to Tulsi Gabbard. Here is her thread. It's a little long, but I do think I'm just going to go ahead and read and describe these infographics as well as I can. And then you guys go ahead, decipher, and come to your own conclusions about how you feel about all this. All right, I'll just give you the information. So let's go ahead and jump in. DNI Tulsi Gabbard starts this by saying, Americans will finally learn the truth about how in 2016, intelligence was politicized and weaponized by the most powerful people in the Obama administration to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, subverting the will of the American people and undermining our democratic republic. Here is how. And I love this infographic here. All right, I feel like it really explains things very well. Look at this. Creation of the Russia hoax, especially for people who aren't really that familiar with the scandal. All right, so look at this. Creation of the Russia hoax. Real intel assessment. Russia and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. All right, that was the assessment. That's what Obama's people were telling him. And then President Trump wins in a shocking election of 2016. But you know what happened? President Obama didn't like that. Look at this. Secret Russia meetings. Now, after President Obama was briefed, he gave the order. He started using the intelligence. He started using his access to the press. He started pulling all these strings. He started some leaks, and he was literally weaponizing everything at his disposal to show some sort of connection between President Trump and Russia, as if to invalidate the election, to undermine the will of the people, which is absolutely unforgivable. Now, to move on, Tulsi Gabbard then says, for months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack U.S. elections. But weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory, defeating Hillary Clinton, everything changed. And look at this. IC census. We have a DHS official to DNI Clapper. Look at what's highlighted. We're working with CIA on a PDB submission on the threat. The thrust of the analysis is that there is no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote count through cyber means. All right. now lead author of the PDB, says, "We agree with Russia probably is not and will not trying to influence the election by using cyber means to manipulate computer-enabled election infrastructure." All right. Then back on December 7th, DNI Clapper talking points. "We assess the foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the US presidential election outcome this year. We have no evidence, zero, of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter results." All right. They're saying they have nothing. There is zero proof. Zip. Nada. But was it enough? On December 8th, 2016, IC officials prepared an assessment for the president's daily brief, finding that Russia did not impact recent US election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. But before it could reach the president, it was abruptly pulled based on new guidance. This key intelligence assessment was never published. And look right here. All right. Look at this. Based on new guidance, we are going to push back publication of the PDB. It will not run tomorrow and is not likely to run until next week. Completely insane. And I'll keep going. The next day, top national security officials, including FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, and DNI James Clapper, gathered at the Obama White House to discuss Russia. Obama directed the IC to create a new intelligence assessment that detailed Russian election meddling, even though it would contradict multiple intelligence assessments released over the previous several months. Look at this. Look at this email to ODNI leaders. The IC is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request that pulls together the information we have on the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election, an explanation of why Moscow directed these activities and how Moscow's approach has changed over time, going back to 2018 and 2012 as reference points. But look what's highlighted. Per the president's request. Are you kidding? That is completely insane. All right, then I'll keep going. Obama officials immediately leaned on their allies in the media to advance their falsehoods. Anonymous IC sources leaked classified information to the Washington Post and others that Russia had intervened to hack the election in Trump's favor. Look at this, the Washington Post. This is another leak to NBC News. Insane. And on January 6, 2017, just days before President Trump took office, DNI Clapper unveiled the Obama-directed politicized assessment, a gross weaponization of intelligence that laid the groundwork for years-long coup intended to subvert President Trump's entire presidency. According to the whistleblower emails shared with us today, we know Clapper and Brennan used the baseless, discredited, Steely dossier as a source to push the false narrative in the intelligence assessment. None of it was true. And Director Gabbard ends off this incredible thread with this, saying, "These documents detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people and try to usurp the president from fulfilling his mandate. This betrayal concerns every American. The integrity of our democratic republic demands that every person involved will be investigated and brought to justice to prevent this from ever happening again." There we go. And she ends off with this: "I am providing all documents to the Department of Justice to deliver the accountability that President Trump, his family, and the American people deserve." Holy smokes. That is the thread. That is the literal dismantling of the deep state. And you know what people are saying about it? We need prosecutions. Everyone is singing the same exact tune, from Benny Johnson to Clandestine. Look at this. It is literal treason, and we now have incontrovertible evidence that Obama knew about it. It is time for justice. This is hands down the biggest story of the day. Look at this. Speaker Mike Johnson also says, "Dismantling the deep state." All right. New evidence from DNI Gabbard confirms what we've long known. The Russia hoax was a political hit job manufactured by Obama officials and weaponized by intel agencies to take down President Trump. Accountability is long overdue. So there you guys have it. That is the story that I really wanted to share with you. It is a long thread, but you know what? I think this has been a long time coming for the American people. All right, so let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. Where do you stand? What do you want to see? Do you want to see President Obama get some accountability for his past actions? Anyways, that's the video. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing. It actually does make a profound difference in what we talk about and who we could reach and the possibilities for the future of this channel. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Episode's over already? Geez, that was fast. Well, they say beautiful things do not last forever, but feel free to watch and listen to another one of these episodes if you're interested in those conversations as well. Also, this next part is huge. Make sure to obliterate that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never skip a beat. I also have a newsletter where we dive into the news, politics, and ideas that shape our future. If you're interested in signing up, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.